abandoned in the freezing snow with 4 puppies. She begs for mercy. Then this happens. The wind howled like a banshee, whipping snow into a blinding frenzy across the desolate landscape. Lila, her fur matted with ice, shivered uncontrollably, her breath frosting in the frigid air. Her 4 newborn puppies, nestled against her for warmth, whimpered softly, their tiny bodies trembling in the biting cold. Abandoned at the edge of a frozen lake, miles from any sign of civilization, Lila felt a wave of despair wash over her. The familiar scent of her human, the warmth of her cozy bed, the comforting routine of her life, all were distant memories now, replaced by the harsh reality of survival in the unforgiving wilderness. She had been dumped here, unceremoniously discarded like a piece of unwanted trash. Her collar, once a symbol of belonging, now hung loose around her neck, a cruel reminder of her betrayal. Her heart ached with confusion and fear, but her maternal instincts surged to the forefront, overriding her own despair. She had to protect her puppies, these vulnerable creatures who depended on her for survival. She nudged them closer, her body a shield against the biting wind, her warmth their only solace in this frozen wasteland. The snow continued to fall, piling up around them, threatening to engulf them in its icy embrace. Lila, her energy waning, her body shivering uncontrollably, knew she had to find shelter, a haven from the relentless storm. She rose to her paws, her legs stiff and aching, her muscles protesting with every movement. She nudged her puppies, encouraging them to follow, their tiny paws sinking into the deep snow, their whimpers a heartbreaking symphony in the vast emptiness. She stumbled through the snowdrifts, her senses heightened, her nose twitching, seeking any sign of refuge. The wind howled in her ears, the snow stung her eyes, but she pressed on, driven by a mother's unwavering determination. The landscape was a stark canvas of white, the trees skeletal silhouettes against the gray sky. The only sound was the mournful wail of the wind, a constant reminder of their isolation, their vulnerability. Lila, her strength fading, her hope dwindling, lowered her head, her breath forming a cloud of frost in the frigid air. She looked at her puppies, their eyes filled with trust, their tiny bodies huddled against her for warmth. She couldn't fail them. She had to find a way to survive, to protect them, to offer them a chance at life. With a renewed surge of determination, she lifted her head and pressed on, her footsteps leaving a trail in the pristine snow, a testament to her unwavering spirit, her motherly love a beacon in the face of despair. The biting wind seemed to mock Lila's every step, tearing at her fur, chilling her to the bone. Her paws, numb with cold, struggled to find purchase in the deep snow. Her breath came in ragged gasps, her lungs burning with the exertion. But she pressed on, her maternal instincts overriding her exhaustion, her love for her puppies fueling her every move. The puppies, their tiny bodies barely able to withstand the harsh conditions, whimpered and shivered, their cries a constant reminder of their vulnerability. Lila nudged them forward, her body a shield against the biting wind, her warmth their only solace in this frozen wasteland. She searched desperately for shelter, her eyes scanning the desolate landscape for any sign of refuge. A cave, a hollow log, even a dense thicket of trees, anything that could offer protection from the relentless storm. But the landscape remained unforgiving, a vast expanse of white, broken only by the skeletal silhouettes of windswept trees. Lila's heart sank with each passing hour, the weight of responsibility pressing heavily on her weary shoulders. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, a constant reminder of her own dwindling strength. She had not eaten in days, her body depleted from the ordeal of birth and the relentless struggle for survival. She knew she needed sustenance, not just for herself, but for her puppies, who depended on her milk for nourishment. She scavenged for anything edible, her nose leading her to frozen berries buried beneath the snow, the occasional discarded apple core left by a careless hiker, even the bark of trees, a desperate measure to stave off starvation. But it was never enough. Her body ached with hunger, her milk supply dwindling, her puppies growing weaker with each passing day. She felt a growing sense of despair, the fear for her puppy's survival eclipsing her own. Yet she refused to give up. She would fight for them, for their right to live, for their chance at a future. She would endure the cold, the hunger, the exhaustion, for as long as she had to. She was their mother, their protector, their only hope in this unforgiving world. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the snow-covered landscape, Lila stumbled upon a small, abandoned cabin. Its windows were boarded up, its door hanging precariously from its hinges, but it offered a glimmer of hope, a potential haven from the elements. She cautiously approached the cabin, her senses alert for any signs of danger. She sniffed the air, detecting the faint scent of wood smoke, a sign that the cabin had been inhabited recently. She listened intently, but the only sound was the howling wind and the soft whimpers of her puppies. With a surge of hope, she pushed open the door, the rusty hinges groaning in protest. The interior was dark and dusty, but it offered shelter from the wind and snow. Lila ushered her puppies inside, their tiny bodies trembling with cold and exhaustion. She curled up in a corner, her body a protective barrier around her pups. She licked them clean, her warm tongue a soothing comfort. She nuzzled them close, their tiny bodies a source of warmth in the cold, dark cabin. For the first time since their abandonment, Lila felt a glimmer of hope. She had found shelter, a temporary respite from the harsh reality of their situation. She closed her eyes, her exhaustion finally overcoming her, her dreams filled with visions of warmth, food, and a future where she and her puppies could thrive. The morning dawned with a fragile beauty, the rising sun painting the snow-covered landscape in hues of pink and gold. Lila, awakened by the soft whimpers of her puppies, stirred from her slumber, her body stiff and aching, her mind still clouded with the memories of their ordeal. She nudged her puppies, encouraging them to nurse, her milk supply meager but enough to offer some sustenance. She licked them clean, her rough tongue a comforting touch, her maternal instincts overriding her own exhaustion and hunger. She ventured outside the cabin, her senses alert for any signs of danger or potential sources of food. The wind had subsided, the snow had stopped falling, and the world seemed to hold its breath, a fragile peace settling over the landscape. Lila's nose twitched, catching a faint scent on the crisp air, a mixture of wood smoke and something else, something unfamiliar yet intriguing. She followed the scent, her paws sinking into the powdery snow, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and apprehension. The scent led her to a clearing, where a rustic farmhouse stood nestled amidst a cluster of snow-laden pines. Smoke curled from the chimney, a beacon of warmth and life in the vast emptiness. Lila hesitated, her instincts warning her of the potential dangers of approaching human habitation. But the scent, the promise of warmth and perhaps even food, was too tempting to resist. She crept closer, her movements cautious, her senses alert for any sign of threat. She reached the edge of the clearing, her gaze drawn to a figure emerging from the farmhouse. It was an elderly man, his weathered face framed by a thick gray beard, his eyes crinkled with a gentle warmth. He carried a bucket filled with feed, his footsteps leaving deep imprints in the snow. Lila watched him as he approached a nearby barn, his movements slow and deliberate, his demeanor radiating a quiet strength. She felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a sense that this man might offer the salvation she so desperately sought. The man, his name was Thomas, had lived a solitary life in the mountains for many years. His wife had passed away a decade ago, leaving him with only his memories and the companionship of his loyal dog, Rusty, a scruffy terrier mix who was his constant shadow. Thomas had always had a soft spot for animals, their presence a comforting balm in his quiet existence. He cared for his livestock with a gentle hand, his touch a testament to his respect for all living creatures. As he approached the barn, his gaze fell upon Lila, her form a stark contrast against the pristine snow. He paused, his eyes widening in surprise, his heart filled with concern for the obviously distressed dog. He set down the bucket of feed and cautiously approached Lila, his voice soft and reassuring. "Hello there, girl," he said. His words carried on the crisp air. "You look lost and cold. What are you doing out here all alone?" Lila, her initial fear tempered by the man's gentle tone, wagged her tail tentatively, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and apprehension. She lowered her head in a gesture of submission, her body trembling with exhaustion and cold. Thomas, sensing her vulnerability, reached out a gloved hand, his touch gentle and reassuring. Lila, hesitant at first, leaned into his touch, her body craving the warmth, the human connection. Thomas, his heart melting at the sight of her distress, knew he couldn't leave her to fend for herself in the harsh winter conditions. He beckoned her towards the barn, his voice filled with kindness. "Come on, girl," he said. "Let's get you out of the cold." Lila, her trust tentatively placed in this kind stranger, followed him, her paws leaving a trail in the snow, her heart filled with a glimmer of hope for the first time since her abandonment. The barn, a weathered structure that had stood for generations, offered a welcome respite from the biting wind and swirling snow. Thomas, with a practiced ease, slid open the heavy wooden door, ushering Lila inside. The interior, though dimly lit, was filled with the comforting sense of hay, livestock, and the warmth of life. Lila, her senses heightened by the sudden change in environment, hesitated at the threshold. She scanned the space, her eyes adjusting to the dim light, her nose twitching, taking in the unfamiliar smells. She saw stalls filled with horses, their soft nickers and the rhythmic stamping of their hooves a comforting symphony. She smelled the sweet hay, the earthy scent of manure, the comforting warmth of animal life. Thomas, sensing her hesitation, spoke softly, his voice a calming presence in the dimly lit space. "It's all right, girl," he said. "You're safe here. Come on in." Lila, her trust in Thomas growing with every gentle word and gesture, stepped cautiously into the barn. She followed him to a corner stall, where a thick layer of fresh straw provided a soft bed. Thomas reached into a nearby bin, pulling out a warm blanket, which he spread over the straw. "There you go, girl," he said, his voice kind. "Make yourself comfortable. I'll be back in a bit with some food and water." Lila, her body weary and aching, gratefully settled onto the soft bed, the warmth of the blanket a welcome relief from the biting cold. She curled up, her tail tucked around her body, her eyes closed, her mind finally at ease. Thomas, meanwhile, hurried back to the farmhouse, his heart filled with concern for the abandoned dog. He rummaged through his pantry, finding a can of beef stew and a bowl of fresh milk. He warmed the stew on the stove, the aroma filling the kitchen with a comforting warmth. He returned to the barn, carrying the food and a bucket of fresh water. He approached Lila's stall cautiously, not wanting to startle her. He placed the food and water within easy reach, his voice gentle and reassuring. "Here you go, girl," he said. "Eat up. You must be starving." Lila, her stomach growling with hunger, lapped up the water and devoured the stew with gusto. Thomas watched with a smile, his heart warmed by the sight of her regaining her strength. As Lila ate, Thomas noticed something moving in the straw beside her. He peered closer, his eyes widening in surprise. Nestled against Lila's warm body were 4 tiny puppies, their eyes still closed, their fur matted and damp. "Well, I'll be," he murmured, his voice filled with wonder. "You're a mother, aren't you? And you have little ones to care for." He knelt beside the stall, his gaze softening as he watched the puppies nuzzle against their mother. He felt a surge of compassion for this young family, abandoned and vulnerable in the harsh winter conditions. He knew he couldn't leave them to fend for themselves. He would take them in, offer them shelter and care, give them a chance at a life they deserved. He reached out a hand, gently stroking Lila's fur, his touch a silent promise of protection and care. Lila, sensing his kindness, nuzzled his hand, her eyes filled with gratitude. She had found a safe haven, a kind soul who had opened his heart and his home to her and her puppies. In the warmth of the barn, surrounded by the comforting presence of Thomas, she felt a glimmer of hope for the future, a chance for her and her puppies to thrive. The barn, once a quiet sanctuary for Thomas's horses, was now filled with the soft whimpers and playful yelps of Lila's puppies. Thomas, his heart warmed by their presence, dedicated himself to their care, ensuring they had a warm, safe haven to grow and thrive. He cleaned the stall thoroughly, replacing the straw with fresh bedding. He brought in a heat lamp to keep the puppies warm, their tiny bodies huddled together under its comforting glow. He provided Lila with nutritious food and fresh water, watching with satisfaction as she regained her strength and her milk flowed freely to nourish her pups. He spent hours each day in the barn, observing the puppies as they grew, their personalities emerging like delicate blossoms. He named them Scout, Rusty, after his own beloved dog, Luna, and Snowdrop, each name reflecting their unique characteristics. Scout, the largest of the litter, was a fearless explorer, always the first to venture out of the nest, his tail wagging with boundless energy. Rusty, with his scruffy coat and mischievous grin, was a playful scamp, always ready to pounce on his siblings or chase after a stray piece of straw. Luna, with her gentle eyes and soft whimpers, was the most affectionate, snuggling into Thomas's lap whenever he sat down. And Snowdrop, the smallest and most delicate of the bunch, was a quiet observer, her big eyes taking in the world with a gentle curiosity. Thomas delighted in their antics, their playful squabbles and affectionate cuddles filling his days with a joy he hadn't experienced in years. He would sit on a bale of hay, watching them tumble and play, his laughter echoing through the barn, a sound that had been absent for far too long. Lila, witnessing Thomas's dedication and kindness, felt her initial wariness melt away, replaced by a deep sense of gratitude and trust. She would often rest her head on his lap as he sat with her puppies, her eyes filled with a gentle affection. She watched as he cared for her pups, his touch gentle and reassuring, his voice soothing and kind. She knew that she and her puppies were safe under his care, that they had found a haven in this unexpected corner of the world. Thomas, in turn, found himself drawn to Lila's quiet strength and unwavering devotion to her pups. He admired her resilience, her ability to overcome the trauma of abandonment and focus on the well-being of her offspring. He saw in her a reflection of his own late wife, a woman of unwavering strength and compassion. As the days turned into weeks, a bond formed between them, a silent understanding that transcended language. They would often walk together through the snow-covered fields, Lila trotting beside him, her tail wagging, her presence a comforting balm to his loneliness. He would talk to her about his day, his worries, his memories of his wife. Lila would listen patiently, her head cocked, her eyes filled with a gentle understanding. She became his confidant, his furry companion, a source of comfort and joy in his solitary life. The puppies thrived under their combined care, growing stronger and more playful with each passing day. Their presence filled the barn with life, their laughter echoing through the rafters, a testament to the healing power of love and compassion. And in the midst of it all, Thomas and Lila found solace in each other, their bond a beacon of hope in the vast winter landscape. Spring arrived, painting the Colorado landscape in vibrant hues of green and gold. The snow retreated, revealing the lush meadows and towering pines that had been hidden beneath its icy grip. The days grew longer, the sun's warmth chasing away the lingering chill of winter. Lila's puppies, now several months old, had transformed into boisterous bundles of energy. They raced through the fields, their barks echoing through the valleys, their playful antics a constant source of amusement for Thomas. Scout, the fearless explorer, led the pack, his nose always twitching, his tail wagging with boundless enthusiasm. Rusty, the mischievous scamp, was never far behind, his playful nips and mischievous grin keeping his siblings on their toes. Luna, the gentle soul, preferred to stay close to Thomas, her soft fur brushing against his legs as she followed him around the ranch. And Snowdrop, the quiet observer, would often be found perched on a rock, her big eyes taking in the world with a thoughtful gaze. Thomas, his heart overflowing with affection for these lively creatures, dedicated his days to their care and entertainment. He built them obstacle courses, threw sticks for them to fetch, and taught them basic commands, their eagerness to please bringing a smile to his weathered face. Lila, her maternal instincts still strong, watched over her pups with a watchful eye, her heart swelling with pride as she witnessed their growth and development. She joined in their games, her playful nips and gentle nudges reminding them of her presence, her love a constant reassurance. But as the puppies thrived, Thomas found himself reflecting on his own life, the quiet solitude that had enveloped him since his wife's passing. He had always been a man of few words, content in his own company, his days filled with the routine of ranch life. But the arrival of Lila and her puppies had awakened something within him, a dormant part of his heart that yearned for connection, for the warmth of companionship. He found himself seeking their company, their playful energy a welcome antidote to the silence that had haunted his days. He would sit on the porch in the evenings, watching the puppies chase fireflies, their laughter echoing through the twilight. He would share his meals with Lila, her gentle presence at his table a comforting reminder of shared moments. He would tell them stories of his life, his voice filling the quiet spaces, his words weaving a tapestry of memories and emotions. He realized that these abandoned creatures had given him more than just companionship. They had given him a renewed sense of purpose, a reason to wake up each morning with a smile, a reason to embrace the beauty of the world around him. He had found a family in the most unexpected of places, a bond forged in the shared experience of loss and resilience. And in the depths of his heart, he knew that this connection, this unexpected gift of love and companionship, would forever change the course of his life. Summer painted the ranch in golden hues, the days long and languid, the air filled with the scent of wildflowers and the buzzing of bees. The puppies, now almost fully grown, had become indispensable members of the ranch, their boundless energy and playful spirits weaving a vibrant tapestry of life into Thomas's once solitary existence. Scout, the intrepid explorer, had become Thomas's shadow, following him on his daily rounds, his keen senses alert to any signs of trouble. Rusty, the mischievous prankster, kept the ranch hands entertained with his antics, his playful nips and stolen hats a source of constant amusement. Luna, the gentle soul, remained Thomas's constant companion, her soft fur brushing against his legs as he worked, her presence a calming balm to his weathered soul. And Snowdrop, the quiet observer, had become the ranch's unofficial mascot, her gentle presence a source of comfort to all who crossed her path. Thomas, his heart swelling with pride, watched his adopted family thrive. He had nurtured them, protected them, and loved them as his own, and they, in turn, had filled his life with a joy he had thought long forgotten. But as the puppies matured, Thomas knew it was time to consider their future. They deserved the opportunity to experience life beyond the ranch, to find loving homes where they could share their unique personalities and unwavering loyalty. He discussed his thoughts with Lila, who listened intently, her head cocked, her eyes filled with understanding. She, too, had noticed the changes in her pups, their growing independence, their yearning for new adventures. Together, they decided to seek out suitable homes for the puppies. Thomas spread the word in the nearby town, his tales of their intelligence and loyalty attracting the attention of families eager to welcome a furry companion into their lives. One by one, the puppies found their forever homes. Scout, the fearless adventurer, was adopted by a young couple with a passion for hiking and exploring the mountains. Rusty, the mischievous prankster, charmed his way into the hearts of a family with two young children who delighted in his playful antics. Luna, the gentle soul, found a home with an elderly woman who longed for companionship and unconditional love. And Snowdrop, the quiet observer, was chosen by a writer who sought a peaceful companion for her solitary hours of creativity. Each departure was bittersweet, A tearful goodbye tempered by the joy of knowing that his beloved pups were embarking on new adventures, bringing their unique brand of love and loyalty to their new families. Thomas showered each pup with hugs and kisses, his heart swelling with pride and a touch of sadness. Lila, watching her pups leave, felt a pang of maternal longing, but she also understood that this was the natural course of life. She had nurtured them, protected them, and prepared them for the world, and now it was time for them to spread their wings and fly. Thomas, his heart heavy with the sudden quietude that had descended upon the ranch, turned to Lila, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Lila," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for sharing your pups with me, for bringing so much joy into my life." Lila, in response, nuzzled her head against his leg, her tail wagging softly. She had found a home with Thomas, a place where she belonged, a bond that transcended the maternal connection she had shared with her pups. She was no longer just a mother. She was a companion, a friend, a cherished member of the ranch family. With the puppies gone, a new quiet settled over the ranch. Thomas, though grateful for the joy they had brought, felt the familiar pangs of loneliness creeping back into his life. He missed their playful energy, their boisterous barks, the constant flurry of activity that had filled his days. He found himself seeking out Lila's company more than ever, her presence a comforting balm to his solitude. They spent their days working side by side, Lila proving to be an invaluable help on the ranch. Her keen senses and intelligence made her a natural herder, and she quickly learned to assist Thomas with rounding up the cattle, her barks and nips guiding the strays back into the fold. Their evenings were spent on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in fiery hues. Thomas would share stories of his life, his voice a low rumble in the quiet twilight, while Lila sat attentively by his side, her head resting on his lap, her presence a silent testament to their bond. One day, a visitor arrived at the ranch, a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. She introduced herself as Emily, a volunteer from the local animal shelter. She had heard about Lila and her puppies, and she had come to inquire about the possibility of finding Lila a loving home. Thomas, though his heart ached at the thought of parting with Lila, knew that he had to consider her needs. She was a young dog, full of life and energy, and she deserved a family of her own, a home where she could receive the attention and affection she deserved. He explained the situation to Lila, his voice filled with emotion. "Lila, my girl," he said, "Emily here is from the animal shelter. She thinks she might be able to find you a wonderful home, a place where you can have a family of your own." Lila listened intently, her head cocked, her eyes searching his face. She sensed the conflict in his voice, the love mingled with a sense of responsibility. She nudged his hand with her nose, her tail wagging softly, as if to reassure him. Thomas, his heart heavy, continued, "I know we've grown close, Lila. You've become a part of my life, my family. But I want what's best for you. You deserve a home with children to play with, a yard to run in, a family who can give you all the attention you deserve." Lila, her understanding surpassing any human comprehension, licked his hand, her eyes filled with a deep affection. She knew that Thomas loved her, that he wanted her to be happy, but she also knew that her happiness lay with him, on the ranch, by his side. She rose to her paws and gently nudged Emily's hand, then turned and walked towards the barn, her tail wagging, her message clear. She had made her choice. She had found her home, her family, her purpose. Thomas, his heart swelling with a mixture of relief and gratitude, watched her go. He knew that Lila had made the right decision, that their bond was stronger than any desire for a traditional home. He had found a companion, a friend, a soulmate in this abandoned dog, and he would cherish their connection for the rest of his days. Emily, touched by the scene, smiled warmly. "It seems Lila has already found her forever home, Mr. Thomas," she said. "You two have a special bond. It's beautiful to witness." Thomas nodded, his eyes filled with tears. "She's my family, Emily," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "And I'm hers. Life with Lila by his side took on a new rhythm, a harmonious blend of companionship and shared purpose, now echoed with the joyful sounds of Lila's barks and the comforting cadence of their shared footsteps. Thomas, his spirits lifted by Lila's presence, found a renewed vigor in his daily chores. They worked side by side, tending to the livestock, mending fences, and maintaining the sprawling grounds. Lila, with her keen senses and unwavering loyalty, proved to be an invaluable asset, herding stray cattle, alerting Thomas to any signs of trouble, and offering a comforting presence during long hours under the open sky. Their bond deepened with each passing season. They explored the surrounding mountains together, their footsteps tracing hidden trails, their shared breaths mingling with the crisp mountain air. They swam in the cool, clear streams, Lila's sleek fur glistening in the sunlight as she paddled alongside Thomas, her joyful barks echoing through the valleys. They sat by the campfire in the evenings, sharing stories and quiet moments of contemplation, the crackling flames casting a warm glow on their faces, their bond illuminated by the starry sky. Thomas, his health revitalized by the active lifestyle and the companionship, felt years younger. The aches and pains that had once plagued him subsided, replaced by a newfound energy and a zest for life. He found himself laughing more often, his heart lighter, his spirit rejuvenated by Lila's unwavering devotion. Lila, in turn, thrived in the loving environment of the ranch. She had found a place where she truly belonged, a human who cherished her, a purpose that fulfilled her every instinct. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a companion, a protector, a beloved member of the ranch family. The community embraced Lila as one of their own, her story of resilience and loyalty spreading through the nearby town. Children would often visit the ranch, eager to play with Lila, their laughter filling the air, their innocent affection a testament to her gentle nature. Thomas, watching Lila interact with the children, his heart swelling with pride, realized that she had become more than just his dog. She was a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, love and companionship could flourish. Life on the ranch had become a sanctuary, a haven of peace and shared joy. Thomas and Lila, their lives intertwined, their spirits connected, faced the future with a quiet confidence, their bond a testament to the enduring power of the human-animal connection. The tranquility of their life was shattered one crisp autumn afternoon. A battered pickup truck rumbled up the long dirt road, leaving a trail of dust in its wake. A man emerged, his face weathered and creased, his eyes narrowed with a mixture of anger and desperation. Thomas, watching from the porch, felt a knot of unease tighten in his stomach. He recognized the man, a rough-looking character named Jake who lived on the outskirts of town. He had a reputation for mistreating his animals, his neglect a frequent topic of gossip in the local coffee shop. Jake strode towards Thomas, his boots crunching on the gravel, his voice gruff and demanding. "I've come for my dog," he declared, his eyes fixed on Lila, who stood protectively by Thomas's side. Thomas felt a surge of protectiveness towards Lila. He remembered the state she had been in when he found her, abandoned and emaciated, her spirit broken. He couldn't bear the thought of her returning to a life of hardship and neglect. "She's not your dog anymore, Jake," Thomas said firmly, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "She's mine now. I found her abandoned, half-starved, and freezing to death. I saved her life." Jake scoffed, his eyes hardening. "She's my property," he snarled. "I paid good money for her. You have no right to keep her." Thomas stood his ground, his gaze unwavering. "She's not a piece of property, Jake. She's a living creature, and she deserves to be treated with respect and kindness, something you clearly failed to provide." Jake's face flushed with anger. He lunged towards Lila, his hand outstretched, attempting to grab her collar. Lila, sensing the threat, growled low in her throat, her teeth bared, her body poised to defend herself. Thomas stepped in front of Lila, his body shielding her from Jake's grasp. "Don't touch her," he warned, his voice laced with steel. "She's not going anywhere with you." Jake, enraged by Thomas's defiance, raised his fist, his face contorted with fury. "You old fool," he spat. "You're going to regret this." But before he could strike, Lila sprang into action. She launched herself at Jake, her teeth sinking into his arm, her growl a fierce warning. Jake yelped in pain, his grip loosening, his anger momentarily forgotten. Thomas, seizing the opportunity, shoved Jake backwards, sending him stumbling onto the gravel. "Get off my property, Jake," he commanded, his voice booming with authority. "And don't ever come back." Jake, nursing his wounded arm and his bruised ego, retreated to his truck, muttering threats and curses under his breath. He sped away, leaving a trail of dust and a lingering tension in his wake. Thomas, his heart pounding, turned to Lila, his eyes filled with gratitude and admiration. "Thank you, girl," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "You protected me." Lila, her tail wagging softly, licked his hand, her eyes filled with unwavering loyalty. She had defended her home, her family, her human. She had found a place where she belonged, and she would fight to protect it. The confrontation with Jake, though unsettling, solidified the bond between Thomas and Lila. It was a testament to their shared loyalty, their unwavering commitment to protecting each other. The incident also sparked a wave of support from the community, who rallied around Thomas and Lila, their outrage at Jake's behavior echoing through the town. News of the confrontation reached Emily at the animal shelter. She visited the ranch the next day, her eyes filled with concern for Thomas and admiration for Lila's courage. She offered her support, assuring Thomas that the community was behind him, that they would stand together to protect Lila from any further threats. "Mr. Thomas," she said, her voice firm, "you did the right thing. Lila is your family, and you have every right to protect her. We won't let Jake or anyone else take her away from you." Thomas, his heart warmed by her words, nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Emily," he said. "It means a lot to know that we have the support of the community." The incident became a turning point for Lila. She seemed to shed the last vestiges of her timid past, her confidence blossoming, her spirit soaring. She embraced her role as protector of the ranch, her patrols of the grounds more vigilant, her barks carrying a newfound authority. Thomas, witnessing her transformation, felt a surge of pride. He had given Lila a second chance at life, and she, in turn, had enriched his life in ways he could never have imagined. They were two souls, bound by fate and a shared love for the land, their connection a testament to the healing power of companionship. Life on the ranch resumed its peaceful rhythm, but with a renewed sense of purpose. Thomas and Lila, their bond strengthened by the shared adversity, faced the future with a quiet confidence. They worked side by side, their days filled with the familiar routines of ranch life, their evenings spent sharing stories and quiet moments of contemplation. The community continued to embrace Lila, their affection for her growing with each passing day. Children flocked to the ranch, eager to play with her, their laughter filling the air, their innocent joy a testament to Lila's gentle nature. Thomas, watching Lila interact with the children, his heart swelling with pride, realized that she had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the face of abandonment and hardship, love and second chances could prevail. He had found a family in the most unexpected of places, a bond forged in the shared experience of loss and resilience. And in the depths of his heart, he knew that this connection, this unexpected gift of love and companionship, would forever be a part of his life story. Years passed, painting the Colorado landscape with the changing hues of time. Seasons flowed seamlessly, each leaving its mark on the ranch and its inhabitants. Thomas, his hair now a crown of silver, his steps a bit slower, carried the weight of his years with a quiet dignity, his eyes still twinkling with the warmth of a life well lived. Lila, her once vibrant coat now streaked with gray, mirrored his aging grace. Her gait, though less sprightly, still held the unwavering loyalty and deep affection that had bound her to Thomas. Their bond, forged in the crucible of hardship and nurtured by years of shared experiences, remained unbreakable. They were two souls intertwined, their lives a testament to the enduring power of companionship, their love a beacon in the vast expanse of the Colorado landscape. They continued their daily routines, their rhythm a comforting symphony of shared purpose. Thomas, his weathered hands guided by experience and instinct, tended to his ranch, his chores now a shared endeavor with Lila always by his side. They moved through the fields, their footsteps leaving imprints in the soft earth, their presence a familiar comfort to the land and its creatures. Their evenings were spent on the porch, wrapped in the tranquility of the setting sun. Thomas, his voice a low rumble, would recount stories of his life, his memories weaving a tapestry of bygone days. Lila, her head resting on his lap, would listen intently, her presence a silent testament to their shared journey. The community remained a constant source of support, their affection for Thomas and Lila unwavering. Children, now grown with families of their own, would often visit the ranch, their children in tow, eager to share the legend of the abandoned dog who had found a home and a hero in the heart of the mountains. Lila, her tail wagging softly, would greet them with a gentle nudge and a loving lick, her presence a reminder of the resilience of the spirit and the enduring power of second chances. Thomas, his heart swelling with pride, would watch them play, their laughter echoing through the valleys, a testament to the legacy of love and compassion that had blossomed on his ranch. As time marched on, their shared journey a beacon of hope in a world often shrouded in darkness. And when the time finally came for them to cross the Rainbow Bridge, they did so together, their spirits intertwined, their love echoing through the eternity of the Colorado sky. Their story, a legacy of resilience, second chances, and the transformative power of the human-animal bond, would forever be etched in the hearts of those who knew them, a testament to the enduring power of love that had bloomed amidst the freezing snow.